You should have the controls now, Jason.
Okay. Thanks, Brianna. Like Brianna said, we're going to look at packaging changes made in the SalesLogix Web, and let's just get my screen sharing here so you can all see what I'm doing. Really, before we get into that in detail, just briefly, we should talk about the virtual file system in the SalesLogix Web environment. The virtual file system is basically a table in the SalesLogix database which holds definitions for all of the various different plugins that make up all the objects within the SalesLogix Web environment. If just to kind of show you what is in there, if we look in the this is the SalesLogix database I'm working in here, and I'll just do a quick query. Here, whoops, spelled something wrong. I'll just make this easy here. Okay, so basically what's in this table is, like I said, there's a row in this table for each item that's in the SalesLogix Web client. Just looking through here in the item name and item path, you can see that there are various XML documents that basically define pages that we see in there. There's also some C# code items that represent functionality, code functionality that's in the system. And then if you look at the item path, it's on this side. These all have a path in the model, entity model. That basically determines where things are, or that's basically what builds this tree in the Project Explorer and the Virtual File System Explorer in the system. So when you're modifying items, adding new entities or creating new pages or what have you, once you create those and you build your web platform, those changes are going to go into the virtual file system. Now, in order to do some of the packaging options that we're going to discuss, what we're going to need to do is create a new workspace. The workspace that we're currently in is again that database virtual file system. You can see up here where it says VFS on SLX 754 eval. So that's basically means we're looking at the database to see what objects we're looking at. You have the ability to basically export that out into your own file structure and work on it external to the database. There's a few different reasons why you do that in general. If you're doing any sort of collaborative development, you can export a different version out for different people and then work on getting your changes merged back into the main one so that you're not bumping into each other while you're making changes and that sort of thing. The other reason that you would have that is you can use those to compare. You can compare two different file systems in order to determine what may have changed, and in turn then create your bundles of any changed items. So you can get those in your bundle manifest and then be able to create those via that method. So basically what I'm going to do here is just in the Project Workspaces area on the bottom, and if that's not visible on yours, that's under the View menu under the Project Workspace Manager. You can see here that that it's listing the again the database VFS here, and then all we have to do is right-click in there and go to Add, and that's going to bring up a screen that allows you to add a new Project Workspace. So basically, what you would do is you give it a name and a path, and then what you would also do is check this Export Files Upon Creation, and that's what actually tells it to go ahead and take the files that are in the database VFS and to move them into the location you specify. I've already exported this because it's a process that takes a few minutes to do. So I went ahead and already have done that. So basically, let me just go to the location where I've already done that here, and I'll just give it a name of the same as the working path that I had created. So we'll just call it Test File System. And in this case, since I have already created it, I'm not going to check this. But normally, if you were exporting one from scratch, you would want to have that checked. Otherwise, it would just create an empty file system for you. So go ahead and hit Create on this. And it creates, down here in the Project Workspace, as you can see that it has created a new workspace called Test File System. And it shows the path that it was saved to. If I had that, if I had the export files upon creation box checked, it would have also shown the source path, which would have been the VFS on SalesLogix 754 eval. Also, when you look up at the Project Explorer, you can also see that we're now looking at Test File System. So really, any work we do now is in the Test File System instead of the database virtual file system. And we can even look in here. This is the location I saved it, and basically all this does is it has a model folder, and then gets into various different items, mostly XML documents and code snippets and so on and so forth. Basically, those are the same things that you would see as if you're in the application architect and you went and you looked at the virtual file system explorer. Which now is up here on the left, and these are the same items that you have under model and so on. In addition to being able to create an external VFS or an external file system, you can also create a backup of whatever workspace you happen to be on. It could be in either your database level VFS or on your file VFS, and in addition to being able to compare two different projects to create a bundle manifest, you can also compare what has changed versus a backup that you have created. And in order to create a backup, basically all we need to do is select whichever one that we want to back up, right-click on that, and then just choose the backup project option. And this is going to create this file here, which in this case is called Test File System 1 backup. There's a 1 on this because I've also already created this. This again is a process which takes a while to run. So I'm not actually going to hit OK on here since I already have this file. In essence, backing up a project is doing the same thing, practically the same thing as creating a file system. The test file system that's here. Really, the only difference is it archives it into a zip file. There is at least one extra XML file due to the fact that it's a backup. There's a backup XML file that's in there as well. But essentially, the process is the same, what it's doing for a backup versus an external VFS. So we have a backup. So basically now in our system, we essentially have a clean system right now, and I've created both a file VFS, a local file system VFS, and also a backup of the main system. So now that we have those items, basically we just need to we'll need to make a couple changes in here that we'll then include in our bundle manifest. Now the changes that we're going to make aren't really important, so I'm just going to do a couple simple things here real quick. But not here. It's going to take a second to open up. Okay. So actually in our packages and in our application entities, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new entity. And I'll use an existing table that's already in the system. And I'll just use the contact extension table. Next here and next. So it has saved that now, and I have a new entity here called contact extension. And since I've created a new entity, I'm going to need to do a build interfaces here as well. So it's going to take a few moments to run through and rebuild the interfaces so that it includes this this new entity that I have just added. While that's loading, I'm just going to set one thing here to make sure it's an extension. And again, these changes don't really matter. It just needs something in place to actually bundle and add to our bundle manifest. So I'm going to set this as an extension to contact and go ahead and save this and close it because I don't need it anymore. Looks like the build is completed here. So I'm going to go ahead also and just create a new form. Nothing really complicated. Oops. I'll go ahead and create this and just add a couple fields. Again, don't really care about what I'm creating here. So we have a form called test form, and I think let's see, let's create a business rule in here as well. This won't actually do anything, but just to have it in here. This will never actually run, but we'll just throw something valid in there. Okay, so I'll go ahead and save this. And go ahead and save our business rule here. Okay, now that we have some changes actually in the system, and assuming that we've tested and built our changes and everything is right, and now we're at the point where we want to go ahead and make a bundle of these items so that we can take the changes that we made and install them on another system. So basically here under the Project Explorer, there's an area called the bundle model. And actually if I open this up, we should actually see there's one in here already. Let's say it's SalesLogix mobile bundle. So now I'm going to right click and we're going to work through these different options for creating a bundle model. The first item I'm going to go through is to create a manifest from changes. Now this item is only going to be available to you if you happen to be working in an external VFS. If you're in the database VFS, then it's not going to display in there. But basically, there's really not a whole lot to this one. It's just going to go through and look at anything that has changed in the test file system and include that in a bundle. So we'll go ahead and click that. And you'll see some items in the output window just kind of going through what it's doing at the moment. This will take a little bit of time to go ahead and create that bundle manifest in the model. Okay, so now it appears as though that is finished, and it says bundle manifest created here in the output window. So now up on the top, you can see it's created a new item here called New Manifest 1, and I'm going to go ahead and just change this to Manifest from Changes, just to give it a distinct name from the other ones we're going to create here in a bit. There are various other fields here, none of which are required. However, you can certainly throw whatever information you want in here. Typically, I'll throw in a description at least, just so whoever may install this in the future can have some understanding of what's being included. Now, if we go to the next tab, the Bundle Items tab, this is basically where the various different items that we added are added. So if I look in here, we'll see in the entity model, it has. Let's see here. Okay, so under packages, under application entities, now for some reason in this case it's actually, this is probably because I just recreated or I just did a backup, restored a backup, but it's actually included everything in here. It shouldn't have actually included everything, it should have only included the contact extension item. But that's okay. We can certainly remove any items out of here. The portal items we don't need, the quick forms. Let's see what's in here. Yeah, we don't need this either. Mashups we definitely don't need. So basically what it should have added, and I apologize for this adding in extra stuff, is the entity that we created, and then also the business rule, and the view that we created as well. There's a couple different buttons here: validate all items and show invalid items. If there's an invalid item, and I'm actually not really sure what they mean by an invalid item, then you can't actually build the bundle. So they offer this check for you to make sure that there's nothing invalid in there. In previous versions of SalesLogix, and I don't recall exactly which versions, but in older versions it was very common that you would bump into invalid items due to some bugs in the bundle functionality. But in current versions that doesn't really seem to be an issue anymore. So now that we know that we have all our valid items in here, we're actually good to use this manifest. Or there are a couple extra tabs in here as well. There's this Actions tab, and under the Actions tab you have a couple different items that you can also include in the bundle, including plugins, adding pick lists, and doing some table and field level items. For example, if you had created a new entity, and if you're familiar with customizations in the web client, the entity is basically just a representation of a table in the system. In the entity that was added in the application entities, that is just the entity. That isn't actually the table that's been added to the database. So if it's going into a new system, you're going to also need the table that you created as well. So you can certainly do that here by just defining whatever table you want to include. Or if you had added a field to an existing table and then added that property to the system, then you could also do an individual field as well. Typically, I actually, and this may be some holdover from older versions of SalesLogix where this didn't work very well, but for those sort of almost LAN level object items, I tend to not trust this and then just go ahead in the LAN architect and just create a regular bundle to add things like tables, fields, and pick lists. However, you can do it here, and it should work fine for you. It's more just kind of a hang up on my part that I don't like using this. And finally, there's a tab on here called Global Resources, and basically, really all you can add in here is images. If you had a custom icon or something like that you were using in toolbar items or whatnot, then you could include those in the bundle as well. So now that I've kind of checked through everything, all we really need to do at this point is just save our bundle. And the asterisk goes away, so we know it's saved. And now on the in the bundle model, there is a manifest from changes listed here. So that's now available in the system. In addition to the creating the model from changes, we also have creating a manifest by change date. I'll go ahead and select that one. This one's pretty straightforward. It allows you to pick a particular date. In this case, I'll just do today. If you want to, you can also choose a time. If you had done some stuff within a particular time frame on the day that you had created it, then you could define that as well. There's also this option for including deleted items, and that's basically just if you had deleted anything. I'm thinking, along the lines of maybe a menu item or a toolbar item or something like that you actually need to physically remove from the system. You'd want to also remove that from whatever system you're installing this into. So you can include those deletes as well. In this case, I'm just going to go with the date that I selected here and go ahead and hit OK on here. And like before, this is going to take a few seconds to actually go through and create the manifest, which it just finished up here. And again, it just pops open a window here that's called New Manifest 1. It would be new manifest 2 if I hadn't given the name to the other one. So I'm just going to call this manifest from date. And again, in the bundle items, and this one actually did a little bit better job of not overdoing what we needed to add here. So here again, under application entities, it has the contact extension, which we added. And then if I expand this out, it also has the business rule that we created, as well as the form that we created. It's not uncommon that you see some extraneous stuff in here. You're fine leaving those in. However, you know, if you know exactly what you did and you want to keep your manifest clean, you can certainly remove certain items. Again, I'm just gonna pull out portals here because we don't need it in what we've done. And again, we can validate all items, and all items are valid. And nothing really to set in these. So I'll just go ahead and save this. And so now we have our manifest from date here on the side as well. The third method we have is to create a manifest by project differences. So when we select this, well, we have a couple different options. First of all, we have a project backup, and this is where the backup that I had created previously comes into play. This opens the select project backup file window, and this is the only one I have in this location. So this shows up here, and we basically just select that, and it'll compare everything in the workspace that we're currently in to what is in that backup file, and then you know, make its additions based on what it sees in there. The other option you have is under existing project, and right now this will just have the database VFS in here. I believe if you added multiple file workspaces in there, those would also show up in here as well. So this gives you the opportunity to compare what you've done in your VFS or in your file system, local file system, versus what you may have done in another file system or in the database virtual file system. Finally, we have a folder path in here, and here you could actually just this is just another way to get to the workspace, the file system workspace that you're in. You could just select your the exported workspace. And in this case, you probably want to do it you probably wouldn't want to do it on the one that you're currently in, because it's not going to see any differences since you've already made the change in there. So for and also a couple other items in here. Again, there's an option for including deleted items that were added to the current project. You'll leave that off for now. They also have an option to exclude files, and you know, there's a few default items in here, mainly like the Sage dot everything DLL. So those are basically the various different assemblies which hold the functionality that is used in many different places in the web client. So these are items that you can't really change anyway, so there's really no reason to include those. And if there's any other items that you'd want to include in here, you can certainly add those in. It supports wildcards with the asterisk, so you can define really anything you want in there as well. So to create this one, I'm going to go ahead and just select the project backup, and I'll have to reselect my backup here. And then just go ahead and hit OK. And once again, it's going to do its thing and just compare the backup file to the current file system that I'm on to determine what changes or what has changed and what to include in the manifest. And this will take just a minute here. It's been my experience with this method by going by comparing against a backup, that seems to take a little bit longer than the other methods, and I believe that's because of the fact that it has to go into a zip file and compare against that. I know if you try to open that zip file, that backup, it opens, but it takes a while because there's quite a bit of items in there as well. So I think that this method for actually comparing and creating the bundle takes a little bit longer than some of the other options. But hopefully here we'll be done in just a second. Okay, there we go. So now it's, once again, it's created a new manifest 1. Just go ahead now and just call this manifest from backup. And once again, take a look at the bundle items. And this one actually has done the best job of all of them. Well, it did include like the properties and everything in there, but that's fine. But here we have the contact extension, our business rule, and also the form that we added. Everything is valid, and everything should be good. So I'll go ahead and save that. Really, the final option for creating a bundle is to just manually create one. The first option here is new manifest, and all that's going to do is just create a brand new empty manifest for you. And if you've, if you're the only one who's been doing the changes and you've done kind of a limited number of things and you know specifically what you need to add, this can probably be the quickest way to put one together. So I'm just going to call this manual manifest. And then when I go to the bundle items, you'll see that it's empty. There's nothing in here. So really all we need to do is just go into our entity model and go to our packages and application entities. And then I'm just going to go ahead and grab contact extension and just drag it over and drop it in. Now this will add everything, excuse me, everything from the contact extension entity, including the form that we had created and the business rule. If you had made a change to a form in an entity that already exists, you can certainly just grab the form for whatever. In this case, I'll just if I grab something from campaigns, you can just drag the individual form in as well. And you'll see here it doesn't include all the other stuff from campaigns, the properties or relationships or anything like that, because those presumably are already in the system, and it just includes the view that we've added. However, we don't really need that in this bundle, so I'll just go ahead and remove that as well. And again, all these are valid, so I will just save that, and that gives us our fourth manifest. So that really covers how to create the manifest with the various different methodologies there. Now that we have one of those and we want to move that into another system, we actually have to create the manifest into an actual bundle. And that's also very easy to do. We just go to our bundle model in the Project Explorer, choose the one that we want to actually create a bundle out of, and in this case I'm just going to do the backup one. And then you just right click and go create bundle. And this will give you a save bundle dialog here, and I'm just going to go ahead and drop this right on the desktop. This is going to create a zip file that contains the changes that we've made. So go ahead and save this. Take just a second, and there we go. So now if I look on my desktop here, Here's the one I actually created just now. Okay, so here we have this is our actual bundle, and we can open this up. It's just a zip file, and you see basically in the entity model, it's just going to have basically the contact extensions and XML files to define what you know, the various different methods in here, you know, whatever quick forms have been created, and so on. In addition to, there's a manifest and a bundle data XML document, which is what basically makes it a bundle. So we have this file now, and ultimately we want to get that into our production system off of our test system. So that is also very easy to do. For demonstration purposes here, I'm just going to actually switch from the local file system, this test file system that we had created and have been working in. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the virtual file system and just do that by double-clicking on the workspace you want to be on in Project Workspaces. And after a second, it loads that up, and you'll see in the Project Explorer now we are looking at the VFS again, the virtual file system on this database. And of course, if we go in here into the packages, we will see that we don't have there's no reference to the contact extension entity in here anymore because it was not created in this file system. So to get that in here, very simple. Just right-click on the VFS up on top here and just go to Install Bundle. And that'll give us an open dialog. And just grab my manifest from backup. Go ahead and hit Open on there. And it'll just kind of verify the path that it's going to. Click Next. And it will give you an option here where you can actually define what you want to install. You can tell it not to install certain things just by unchecking these boxes, or just by default it has everything checked. In addition to this, we've kind of been working with items that aren't currently in the system, so there's no conflict at all. But if there were conflicts, then that would show up actually on the next screen and give you an opportunity to do something about those conflicts. So we'll just give that a second here to install. And now that that's complete, we can just go ahead and hit Finish. And if we now look in our entity model, again in our packages, and the application entities, and now we should see that there is contact extension in here as well. We should have the form here also. So that so installing the bundle, that's all there really is to it. Just right-click and install, and kind of go along with it there. Just to show you what happens if there are conflicts. If I I'll just reinstall the bundle I just installed. So do the manifest from backup again. Open this up. So now it's showing me that the bundle contains 24 items that conflict with existing items in this project. So now what it will do is it gives you an item. It gives you a couple different options here. You can tell it just to preserve merge content and give you a folder which is where all those items are preserved. So you have some options after the fact for you to kind of play around with. So basically, if we run through here, it should show, anything that shows up in red. I'm not actually sure why it says there are 24 items. By my count, there's really only 2, unless it's talking about all the properties and all the events that are in here. So you can either tell it to not install particular items, or you can have it overwrite. You can use diff merge to actually merge code on the 2 different items. Have it overwrite if new, or keep the existing items. So there's a couple different options here when it comes to duplicate items that are in here. In most cases, you're probably going to just overwrite everything anyway. I will go ahead and I think you have to actually go through all of them before to let you continue. Oh, that's interesting. It's not letting me continue. Oh, here we go. Okay, so now I can just hit next, and it'll go ahead and reinstall this basically. And it looks like it actually completed there, so I'll go ahead and hit finish. And it is now in the workspace that we have been that we installed it into. So basically, that kind of covers everything in terms of modifying your or I'm sorry, in terms of creating a new bundle manifest. And you can see too here in the database VFS, when you look at the bundle model, this will just have the one item that we installed. There's a couple different properties that show up here on here as well. Just the install date and the name. If there were version numbers, those would be in here too as well. Okay, so that's pretty much everything when it comes to creating the bundle manifests and also installing them into a system. So at this point, I'm not seeing any questions that have come up. So I think unless there's something anyone wanted to ask here in the next minute or so, I think that will cover what everything that I wanted to go through in this particular workshop.